Hi guys. Somebody sent me a link to this today. The new civil rights movement, UN General Assembly votes to allow gays to be executed without cause. So the United Nations General Assembly had a vote to remove sexual orientation from a resolution that protects people from arbitrary executions. As in, you can't execute somebody just because they're gay. Which sounds like, it would be a good thing. I mean, why should you execute somebody because of their sexual orientation? I just want to say, I know I've made some videos about Lady Gaga and people think I'm homophobic, but I'm really not. I have nothing against people who are gay. I'll tell you what I think, actually, that everybody's different and there's a lot of shades of gray. There's female and there's male and there's things in between. Those boys from, was it Puerto Rico, or there's some island there where they start out as girls and they grow a penis at 12. You have children who are intersexed. You can have a girl who has testicles in her labia. You can have an XY female who looks physically female but is genetically male. So there's a lot of variation. Who am I to pass judgment on people, Homosexuality is on the rise, which wouldn't come as a surprise given how many endocrine disruptors we're exposed to from the time before we're even born. You have more and more men with gynecomastia, also known as moobs. What I have a problem with when I talk about Lady Gaga is the whole lifestyle of promiscuity and advocating drug use, and there's a lot of Illuminati symbolism in there and satanic stuff. But I did used to live in the village and I used to go to gay clubs, and anyway, it's a long story. So here's the thing about the UN resolution. Yeah, it sounds terrible, how can you execute somebody for being gay? Obviously, I'm not pro that. On the other hand, by asking the UN to pass these kinds of, international laws, we're asking for global government, for supranational organizations. See, it's a double-edged sword, international law, because sure, in an ideal world, in a utopia, there'd be this great, maybe a international law that's abided by all and we have world peace. But you know what? That's the lie of the New World Order, because that's not how it works out. So if you ask the UN to pass resolutions outlawing things, so what you're doing is you're asking for global government. You're asking them to create laws that supersede national law, which means you're asking them to undermine national sovereignty. You just can't have it both ways. I'm against global government, obviously, and so I'm against the UN having precedence over any country's right to determine how they govern themselves. And obviously, I'm not always going to agree with the way countries govern themselves, but I think that they should have the right to do that. It hasn't solved anything, having the UN and global government. They create wars, and then through these wars, they have these conventions that are established after the League of Nations, after World War I, and then the Geneva Conventions and then UN after World War II, the Geneva Conventions, all these things that are established as a result of wars that were created by the New World Order, the globalist elites. And then these are pretenses to say that we're going to bring you peace through global government. That's what this is. And they never do, because they always have, two standards. So they'll have a law like the Geneva Conventions on human rights laws, but it's not applied uniformly. So they might, go into one country and wage war against them for supposedly violating human rights. Meanwhile, the US or Israel can violate these laws on a regular basis and get away with it. So there is no justice. If you want the UN to determine how countries govern themselves, you're asking for global government, and you're asking them to abolish national sovereignty. So as much as I'm against, anyone being able to execute someone for being gay, I'm against global government, and so I got to question whether the UN should have the right to pass these kind of laws at all, and whether they should even exist in the first place. All these global government bodies like WHO, World Health Organization, bringing you health, in the form of flu shots advocated by people who work for the vaccine industry. How much sense does that make? You know, it's like that for everything. So anyway, thank you for listening to me rant, and I'll see you next time.